Okay, today we're going to look at IV flow rates. And I'm using a worksheet that I use in class. So looking at it, we're calculating the infusion flow rates or the IV flow rates. Some of them would be through an IV pump. Some of them may be manually with a drop factor. So looking at the first one, the physician orders 500 milliliters of dextran to be infused over 24 hours. How many milliliters per hour should the IV pump be programmed for? So first thing we know, we're looking for milliliters per hour. So that tells me that it's in an IV pump. So to find it in just milliliters per hour, it's always your total volume over your total time. So in this case, I'm looking for my total volume. He orders 500 milliliters, so that's my total volume. He orders it to infuse over 24 hours, so that's my total time. So then I'm just going to reduce that. I'm going to do 500 divided by 24. My fingers to work right. And I get 20.83. Sometimes you can round it to the nearest tenth. Sometimes it needs to be rounded to the whole. Today we're just going to round it to the nearest tenth. So that's 20.8 milliliters per hour. I say today for the first part. If you need to round it to the nearest whole, it would be 21 milliliters per hour because the 8 makes the 0 go up 1. Depending on what you're asked for in class or in the Hawks question. All right, so number 2, a patient with genital herpes has an order for, I can't say the medication, 400 milligrams IV piggyback every 8 hours. The medication is dissolved in 100 milliliters of 0.9% normal saline and is to be infused over 1 hour. How many milliliters per hour should the IV pump be programmed for? Okay, so it's given us more information than we need, and it always does. So you have to watch what you're looking, or think about what you're looking for. We're wanting the milliliters per hour. Why my pen's not running? There it is. So milliliters per hour. So I'm going to look. This 400 milligrams has nothing to do with my milliliters per hour. That's just the weight of the medication, so it's not my volume. So I know that it's in 100 milliliters, so that's my volume. And it's to be infused over 1 hour, so that's my time. So 100 milliliters per over 1 hour reduces down to 100 milliliters per hour. Don't overthink these. These are not hard. All right, so looking at number 3, we have, I can't pronounce these medications. 80 milligrams is ordered for an IV piggyback every 12 hours. The medication is dissolved in 100 milliliters of D5W and is to be infused over 30 minutes with a tubing drop factor of 15 drops per milliliters. How many drops per minute should be given? So this time we're looking for drops per minute. So in drops per minute, it's still your total volume. Sometimes it'll be your rate, depending on what you're given. This time I'm given a total volume. And over my time, times my drop factor. And my drop factor is in drops per milliliter. And then sometimes I have to do a time conversion, which is 1 hour over 60 minutes. I only use this time conversion if my rate or if my total time is in hours. Otherwise, I don't have to use that one. So let's look at our problem again. The medication is dissolved in 100 milliliters. So again, going back here, I don't need the 80 milligrams because that's not my volume. Milligrams is weight, milliliters is volume. So 100 milliliters over 30 minutes. So here's my total time with a tubing drop factor of 15 drops per milliliter. So that's my drop factor. With manually with manual IVs, your drop factor is determined by the diameter of your IV tubing. And on the packaging of the IV tubing, it'll tell you what the drop factor is. It'll either be 15 drops per milliliter, 20 drops per milliliter, 10 drops per milliliter, or 60 drops per milliliter. In this case, it's times 15 drops per milliliter. Since my time is in minutes, I don't have to do the time conversion this time. So then I'm just going to multiply and cancel out my milliliters. Multiply straight across, so 100 times 15 is 1,500, and that's drops. And then 30 times 1 is 30. And that gives me, minutes, not milliliters. I'm going to cancel. If I got a 0 on top, 0 on bottom, I'm always going to cancel it. It's fewer numbers in the calculator or fewer numbers in my head. So 150 divided by 3 is 50. So it's 50 drops per minute. So drops always has to be in the whole number. So if you ever divide it out and you get a decimal, it always has to be rounded to the whole, because you can't count a part of a drop. You can't count a portion. Okay, so let's look at number 4. The physician orders 3,000 milliliters of a total peritoneal nutrition, or a TPN, to be infused from 1900 to 0700. How many milliliters per hour should the IV pump be programmed for? Okay, I underline the 1900 to 0700 because we're going to have to determine the number of hours it's going to run this time. So it gives me my total time in a time span. So if I'm going from 1900 to 07, personally, I just count. So if you don't already know, so 1900, so I have 2000, 2100, 2200, 2300, 2400, that's 5 hours. And then 0100, 0200, 0300, 0400, 0500 is another 5, so it's 10. 06, 07 is 2, so that's 12 hours. There's easier ways to do that, but it's 12 hours. And then this is in the IV pump, so I'm wanting milliliters per hour. So my total volume is the 3,000 milliliters. Now, to my knowledge, there's not a 3,000 milliliter IV bag. So over the course of the 12 hours, you're probably going to hang 3 IV bags. So it's 3,000 milliliters over 12 hours. Since it's an IV pump, I don't have a drop factor. Oops. So I'm just going to reduce the 3,000 over 12. So 3,000 divided by 12. And I get 250. So that's 250 milliliters per hour. Okay. Again, don't overthink these. They're not difficult. Mr. McCain, who has peptic ulcer disease, has Pepticide 20 milligrams in 100 milliliters D5W, ordered every 12 hours. The Pepcid is to be infused over 30 minutes with a tubing factor of 10 drops per milliliter. How many drops per minute should be given? All right, so since it's asking for drops per minute, and I'm given a drop factor, a tubing factor, a drop factor is the same thing, then I want to make sure I'm in drops per minute. So again, I'm going to start with my total volume. Again, 20 milligrams is weight, so I want the milliliters, which is my volume. So 100 milliliters. It tells me it's ordered every 12 hours, but it's to be infused over 30 minutes. So this 12 hours doesn't mean anything as far as calculating the rate. So it's over 30 minutes. And then I'm going to multiply it by my drop factor of 10 drops per milliliter. And since I'm already in minutes, I don't have to do my time. So my milliliters cancel. 100 times 10 is 1,000. 30 times 1 is 30. Again, I've got 0 on top, 0 on bottom, so I'm going to cancel it. 3 goes into 133.3 repeating. So that will give me 33 drops per milliliter. Because again, we can't count 0.3 tenths of a drop or 33 hundredths of a drop if you using the repeating. You can only count whole drops, so it has to be in a whole number. All right, let's look at number 6. A malnourished patient has an order for 5,000 milliliters of some kind of 10% of some medication to be infused over 6 hours. How many milliliters per hour should the pump be programmed? So again, I've got milliliters per hour. So I'm doing a pump. So I need my total volume, 500 milliliters, over my total time. Whoops, I don't know what happened to that. Over my total time of 6 hours. And I want it milliliters per hour, so I'm just reducing 500 divided by 6. And I'm going to get 83.3, repeating. So I'd set it for 83.3 milliliters per hour, or if you're in a place that wants it rounded, 83 milliliters per hour. Okay, so let's look at the last one. This time we have an order is received to infuse penicillin G 4 million units in 100 milliliters of D5W every 12 hours. The tubing drop factor is 10 drops per milliliter. The penicillin should be infused over 60 minutes. And this is how many drops per minute should be given. So I know I'm doing my manual because it says drops per minute. And so I've got my total volume, and I want to say my total volume was 400,000 units, but it's not, because that's the weight of the penicillin, or the amount of the penicillin. It's the 100 milliliters. So what they're doing is they're putting the 4 million units of penicillin into the 100 milliliters. And it's to be infused over 60 minutes. And my drop factor is 10 drops per milliliter. Again, I don't have my minutes, or my time is already in minutes, so I don't have to convert. So 100 times 10 is 1,000. 60 times 1 is 60. Again, I'm going to cancel my zeros. So 100 divided by 6 is 16.67, or 16.6 repeating. I'm going to go ahead and round it. Oh, I can't round it because this is drops per minute. So I would round it to the whole. So 16.6 rounds to 17 drops per milliliter. And that's it. Again, don't overthink these. These are not that hard.